Have you figured out your niche? Are you helping adding value to other people's lives? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Munira's Musings with your host, co-author of Conversations with Top Real Estate Investors Volume 3, Munira Zahabi.
Greetings from Chicagoland. This is Munira, the CEO and founder of Kismet Ventures. I am also the niche navigator, and I am helping people find their niche and market to it. I am also doing this series of interviews on Munira's Musings on YouTube, where I bring people on board that are adding value and enhancing other people's lives. My guest today is Kevin Dunlap. Hi there, Kevin. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. It's great to be here. Thank you.
I am humbled and honored to have you on my show. Thank you for your time.
Of course. I would love to be helping you out as well as to your viewers and listeners.
Wonderful. So as I ask all my interviewees, tell me a little bit about yourself, Kevin.
Well, my name is Kevin, and I am currently residing in Las Vegas, Nevada, which is known to most of the world as Sin City. But there's a lot more going on here than just the gambling and all the stuff you see in the movies. About me, I've been living here a little more than 14 years. I'm a business coach. I'm also an author. I'm a speaker. In the past, I served in the U.S. military. I've done stunt work for film and stage. I've traveled many parts of the world. So for me, I'm just somebody that's using all the experiences and things that I've gone through over the last few years to actually help others figure out what it is that they want to do with their lives, and then actually help them achieve those goals.
You said film? I caught film.
Yes. I used to, before I moved to Las Vegas, I was living in a small town in North Carolina called Wilmington, which is the coastal town, and it's also a film town. A lot of independent films are shot there, and actually a lot of major motion pictures are shot there as well. And yeah, so I've done stunt work for independent films, a little bit in the major motion pictures, and I've done a lot of stuff on stage as well.
Nice. Mm-hmm. So we are talking to a star here.
Not a star. I was a stunt person. So I was, usually stunt people go uncredited, or at least they're credited, but they go unnoticed.
Yeah, but I know one time somebody said, I think, I don't know who said it, but a film star said, if I look good, it's because my stuntman makes me look good.
Yes, if it's an action star, yes, that would be action. That's a very common saying. Says because if I was doubling, say, Keanu Reeves, and I'm doing The Matrix, and he's not doing most of his own stunts, that stunt person that's coming in to do them are, they're making that actor look better. So yes.
Yeah, and they make the most money.
Well, the actor makes the most money. Stunt people make pretty good money. Because they get on a SAG film, on a regular motion picture, they get paid for their time to be on the set, and then they get what's called a bump and they get a bump for each time they have to perform a stunt, depending on how dangerous it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, what led you from Carolinas to move to Nevada?
For me, it's completely different than what I've even talked about. Back then, it was 2004, January 2004, and the real estate market was booming out here in Vegas. And one of my coaches at that time says, Kevin, and this was back in 2003, says, Kevin, you got to get out to Vegas. It's so hot out there. The market is incredible. Pricings of houses are going up. And then at that time, I was a college math teacher part-time, as well as a beach bartender. And I had already started investing a little bit in real estate since 2002. And I said, you know what, let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and finish my job as teacher for this semester. So that was December 2003. I quit the bar on December 30th, 2003 as well. So I could enjoy New Year's with my friends in January. And then once I got some houses refinanced, I sold everything that I owned, and I moved across country. And mind you, when I made the decision to move to Vegas, I knew absolutely nobody in Vegas. I had nothing lined up for housing. had nothing lined up for any kind of career or finances. I had nothing lined up. I did find out another friend of mine in Wilmington moved out to Vegas, and he got here 1 month before I did. So I actually, I mean, that was a very spontaneous thing that I did. Well, it's planned but spontaneous. But moving from North Carolina to Vegas was was a big deal. I mean, imagine moving across country by yourself, and all you have goes in the back of a small U-Haul trailer, and you go.
So I did the wrong move. I went from California to Chicagoland.
Right.
But in the middle, I stopped somewhere in Texas, in Dallas for 2.5 years, and then I moved up north. So yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Well, the thing is, and this is what, I don't know what kind of people are listening to your show, but that sometimes you just have to commit. It says, once you make the decision, hey, I want to do this, you just do it. I mean, you may not know the how, but as long as you have your what and your why and even the when, you'll figure out the how. I mean, it's not going to be like, okay, I'm going to move across country. Oh gosh, I'm going to be living in my car for the next 10 years. Like, no, something will come up. You'll figure something out and just do it.
Yes, I know all about moving across. I moved oceans, so I know how that works. Okay, so when you moved, did you go into real estate? I mean, was that booming for you?
In 2003 and 2, even though I had a part-time job as a bartender and as a teacher, and I was doing some stuff in this film industry, I also started investing in real estate. So when I came out here, I got together with some people that were some investors that were working out here doing what was at that time known as owner financing. And I got with them, and they ended up not being able to agree with each other. That company basically disbanded within like 3 or 4 months of me moving here. And then I just started doing real estate investments as a lease option consultant or rent-to-own consultant, where that's where somebody's renting a house that they're intending to buy 1 or 2 or 3 years later. Even wrote a book on it. That was my very first book that I wrote. And that's what I did until like 2012, where I decided to go ahead and step up and also go out there and get my real estate license as a realtor. So I've been doing that as well. Now, with the lease options turning or drying up a little bit, I'm still doing business as a realtor, but now I'm also taking on more of the coaching side, because as a realtor, and most of you may or may not realize this, realtors are still considered self-employed, because you're still going out. It's not like somebody's giving you a job and say, okay, now here's a client to go and do a house. You go find your clients, you go network, you go find people, you get your name out there, you blog, you podcast, you do Facebook Lives. I mean, you do all this stuff to get your name known. And so I was realizing after about 2014 that I realized that being a realtor was not exactly what my passion it was. I mean, I still like doing it, but it's not my passion. And then that was when I started doing a lot of personal growth, personal development, taking a lot of classes through a lot of different companies. And that's when I remember it was October 2014 is when I decided that, hey, I want to go into the coaching business. So that's when I started doing that. Wrote my second book, which came out in October 2016. I'm in the process of getting my third book written as we speak, and that hopefully will be out by the end of this year.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. And are these books available on Amazon?
The first 2 books are, and you can search Amazon by just my name, Kevin A. Dunlap. The first book is a book called Lease Options Made Easy. And again, it's just a narrative of 2 characters learning about the lease option, what a lease option is and how does it work and what have you. And I made it a narrative because I didn't want to just write a book on facts, like that's going to be boring. So I wrote the book from a husband and wife that had bad credit, and they're about to go to a real estate seminar, which is on lease options. And the book was, I wanted to explain details, but I wanted to have it where 2 different people had 2 different perspectives. So the only way you can do that is through a narrative. You cannot do that with facts. Like, we got this, again, that would be just boring. So that's why I wrote the book that way. The second book is called Designing Your Own Destiny, which is basically a book and workbook combined, because each chapter has exercise lines. And that's all about figuring out what is it that you want to do with your life. And it could be personal, or it could be romantic, it could be business. The book is kind of more geared to the business side. And figuring out what did you want to do with your life, and then figuring out a game plan and achieving it. Now, one thing I did in that book that was kind of unique that I've never seen anybody do in a book before, especially a book in the personal growth space, is when you read, I'm sure have you read some personal growth, personal development type books?
Oh, yes.
Now, would you say that most of those kinds of books usually have a quote at the very beginning of the chapter? It's going to be, let's say, maybe a Gandhi quote, a John F. Kennedy quote, a Marilyn Monroe quote, or something like that. They all have quotes like that. Well, here's the thing. I decided to do the same thing, but I wanted to do something very, very different. It's to my knowledge, nobody has ever done before. And I would say when you hear a quote, like say, one of Gandhi's quotes is, "Man is the center of a circle with no circumference."
Yes.
Which means you're unlimited, you're unbounded. Great quote. The thing is, when we learn, as human beings, how we learn, we learn from five different modalities. And those modalities are known as your senses. So we go by visual. If you're learning math, let's say a mathematical formula, that's a very visual thing. If you're learning to speak a new language, that's very auditory. If you're putting together a bicycle for the first time, that's tactile or feeling, or what is going through touch. Well, feeling is also going by what you feel in your heart. So when you read those quotes in most of the books, like the Gandhi quote, you're going to say, "Oh, that's a feel good quote." But do you actually see his face when you read that quote? No. Do you hear his voice when you read that quote? No. So my quotes were deliberately made to where all three of those modalities, visual, auditory, and feeling, will all be inside those quotes. And it's like, well, how did you do that? Well, how I did that was I decided each quote in the book was actually quoted by somebody that did not exist. Like, okay, so how do you do that? I go, because all the quotes in the books are movie quotes. So when you read the quote, if you've seen the movie, I would say most likely you go back to the scene. Oh yeah, that's that scene from that movie there. And you hear the actor talking to that, and you see the scene. One of the first quotes in that book was actually the red pill, blue pill quote from Morpheus from the first Matrix movie. So if you saw the Matrix movie, and this is a book about, hey, you got to make decisions about change. Like, okay, I get that. So the quote is fitting for the chapter, but it's also, I wanted to hit all three modalities. So that was how I was trying to be different.
Oh, that was awesome. That's a very unique idea.
Well, I thought so too. And then in the back of the book, I had more quotes, and I had put it into a section that says quotes I wanted to use in the movie, but could not find a place to put them. So I put them here in the back of the book.
Okay. So that's wonderful. So now that you're coaching, what are you helping people with? How do you add value?
How I add value is how I help them. I mean, a lot of times people cannot see the forest for the trees. And recently I was speaking to somebody, a client of mine, and she was spending all this time, doing all of this work, and, and she's feeling unappreciated. And, she's kind of working all these long hours and stuff like that. And one of the things I was trying to help her realize is, and she realized is like, oh my gosh, this completely changed. And to me, it's very obvious, but for her, it was, for weeks she was doing this. And then I basically asked her, how many hours do they hire you for per week? She goes, 30. So how many hours did you work yesterday? She goes, 12. What about the day before that? 14. I go, okay, so right now you got 4 hours left. She goes, but she's trying to figure out how can I get all this stuff done? Like, they hired you for 30 hours. So you have to realize, I mean, and I know that's a very simple example, but I was just talking to her 2 days ago, and she was realizing like, oh my gosh, I've been giving so much of my time to this without realizing that I was giving all this away for free. Like, oh, so then she started realizing, okay, it became more of a self-value situation with her. And that where she's like, okay, because otherwise she would have felt guilty about not getting the job done, not realizing that she was contracted for a certain amount of time. Now, if they wanted to pay her for the extra time, then then so be it. But don't, she was easily putting in 50 to 60 hours a weekend on a 30-hour paycheck. And she was not, and she's hired by the hour, by the way. She's not hired, she's not salaried.
Oh, wow.
So that was, to me, that was, I felt so good that she was so thankful to me for that. And this is somebody I've actually been coaching for over 3 years now. So it's just learning about, in this case, your own self-worth, your own self-value.
Okay. And so you help people figure out how much they're worth, right?
Well, I'm not going to say how much they're worth, because that's going to be their own system. But the thing is, I try to help them figure out what is it that what value did they give to the world, and then what's price tag then that you could charge. For an example, if you wanted to become my CPA and you want to charge $1,000 an hour, like, no, I don't think so.
No. Yeah.
But I mean, maybe if I was if it was a huge, big corporation kind of a thing, then maybe. But the thing is, you got to figure out what is it that you want to do? Is there a market for it? And then if there is a market for it, what is the industry standard? Now, are you going to go with the industry standard? Are you going to go above, or are you going to go below? And that's going to be your own personal judgment call. If you're just getting started out, most of the people that I realize, they charge too little. And it's usually because they don't think it's because they lack the confidence of charging a higher dollar price point. But once they get a few of those things done under their belt and they're confident in increases, then yes, they can begin to increase their values. One of the ladies that mentored me, or that I learned from, one of the things that she had said is, once 5 people are willing to pay your prices, it's time to raise your prices.
Okay. Something to note.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so you work primarily with solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, right?
Mainly entrepreneurs and solopreneurs. I mean, small businesses where there's like 1 or 2 people. I work with as well, like a husband-wife team, brother-sister team, or 2 friends team, kind of team. That's fine, as long as they're on the same page. I mean, I don't like working with somebody where they are opposing each other. Then it becomes just a battle. But yeah, mainly solopreneurs, small businesses, or small teams. Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. No, but what you're imparting is a lot of value, because the way my show came into being was when I was talking with somebody, and I asked her, I said, so how much value are you putting in, and what is your worth? And she goes, I don't know. And I said, then how do you add value to other people if you don't know your own, how much you're worth? I said, it doesn't mean that you're worth $2 or whatever, but whatever you're giving to other people has to be worth something to you. And that's how this show came about. I said, let's just have an interview. Let's have a chat where we're talking about what you're doing. And when she saw this interview, she realized that she was giving a lot more, like you said, and charging very less for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that created, a snowball effect for her, where she went back and readjusted a lot of things in her coaching practice, but also helped me figure out, there's a lot of people who don't know what value they're adding. So let me just do these shows and, find people who are adding value, who to me are adding value, but they don't know, 1, how to broadcast it. And 2, there's so many other people that need their services, but don't know who to turn to. So this became that show where Munira's Musings was then born. And so that's why I do these shows. But, but you're awesome. So are you still doing investing?
I'm not doing really any real estate investing at the moment. I've looked at some stock option stuff as well, but I just have not had the time to investigate that, because to me that does take a lot of time. And right now, what I'm looking to do is I'm building my speaking career, I'm building my coaching career. even my writing books. I will tell you this right now, 3 months ago, I had no desire to write a third book. And it took me 10 months to write the second one. And it took me one month to write the third one. So now it's like, okay, I am now re-inspired to do that. But my main thing right now is building my speaking business. And the main topics I'm talking about now are the topics of the third book, which is currently called The Winner's Code, where I just talk about having a winner's mindset. And when I say winner's mindset, I don't mean winners at other people's expenses. I actually built the book around one quote by Zig Ziglar. And the quote was, if you help enough other people succeed, you will be successful yourself. So the winner's code is about how do you create win-win situations. So even if it looks like it's going to be negative, or you're playing the martyr, or it's a complete battle against each other, how can you redirect that to make it a win-win?
Wow. Is that your third book?
The third book the working title is The Winner's Code. The subtitle I'm going back and forth with is either Secrets of the Winner's Mindset, or it's the Creating the Winner's Mindset. So Secrets will have one specific cover. The Creating one, I've not designed that cover yet. So I'm going back and forth as to which one I want to go with. But the general public has said they like Creating the Winner's Mindset better than the Secrets of the Winner's Mindset.
Oh, okay. So you have taken a poll.
I've taken one poll.
Well, I appreciate you, and I am thankful that you were able to make my show. I love the fact that you shared a little bit about yourself and shared what you do and adding value to people on my show. So for those people who want to learn how to find your value and figure out what you want to do on your next step, please look up Kevin. And he can be found. I'll post a link to his website and his Facebook group so that people know about him. And please share, like, and subscribe this series of interviews, because that's what we are all here to do. I am here to expose and promote the coaches that are adding value, and they are here to change other people's lives. So thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you.
Oh, my pleasure. And yeah, my whole thing is, if I can make 1, 2, 10, 100 people make changes in their lives that's for the better, then that's just helps it. That's just good for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi. If you enjoyed our show, please share and subscribe to this channel. And for more content, please join our Facebook group called Navigate to Your Niche.